between that or anything else. Any
We'll
questions?
we'll have time for some questions here in a little bit too. So we'll if you can't think of something right now for Kathy or Kurt, and something comes up, we'll definitely get to those. So okay, Kathy, if there's nothing else for right now, we will turn it over. Thank you very much. We're going to turn it over to, I'm not sure what his title is. We'll just call him Superman. Brad Boyd is with us this evening. Brad is actually the Central Area Director for Kiwanis International. And again, our district is very lucky to be able to work with Brad on so many projects. So Brad, would you share a few things with us this evening?
Sure. Thank you very much for that. And actually, Lisa, I answer to Director of Hoopla and Chief Whipping Boy usually. So
yeah.
Whatever it takes and all. I put together a couple sites. I don't know if I can share it. If not, I can just talk from them or whatever, but I'll see if I can share my screen there. Hopefully you can see that. And I just wanted to, these are a few things. I had the great pleasure of speaking to Kathy's club in Erie, Pennsylvania over the lunch hour today. I'll be in the Bahamas tomorrow night, and then I'll be in Bellevue, Nebraska. Woohoo! Don Glenn booked me for Thursday morning, so I'm on the circuit here and all. But I just wanted to mention, you know, I appreciate so much all of you who have, you know, just coped and put up and figured out to rejigger things so that we could have a really fairly successful 2020. Good riddance 2020. Glad it's behind us and everything. I know it threw a curveball to all of us, particularly those of us that work from planners and calendars. In fact, I've received 2 calendars so far, and I haven't entered one thing in on those. I just keep up with my computer calendar because I'm afraid I was jinxed after last year. But I do think that it's a great opportunity. Our numbers came in far better than what we had anticipated they could be, and so we're bullishly optimistic that once we get those 2 shots in our arms and get a shot in our community with some pure Kiwanis goodness, and then get some shots in your clubs from bringing on new members, that will be in great shape going forward. So my presentation that I've been doing since March 13th, Friday the 13th, that was the date we got kicked to the curb and working from our homes, but was all about tinkering. And I really wanted to just share my admiration to all of you who have figured out how to pivot and get onto Zoom and make things happen and still do service to your communities and everything. The presentation that I've been cobbling together, it's really just the greatest hits of what I'm gathering from other Kiwanians, from key clubbers, CKI members like I was back in the day, or even some of the media good news outlets and everything. And so these are 5 areas that I think are vitally important. And I think most clubs have done pretty well with number 1 and number 2, but I haven't heard too many talking about membership growth, or some are struggling with service projects, particularly if they have a lot of members who feel like their health is compromised, and so they need to do things from the confines of their own home. And then online fundraising. I've had a lot of requests to help clubs sort of drill deep and see whether they could work off of their existing fundraising efforts or come up with some new ones. So I've got some ideas that I share there. Just wanted to mention the importance of membership committee chairs. A show of hands, how many of you have clubs that have designated membership committee chairs? Hopefully quite a few. We show that usually our club secretaries are only reporting about 45% of the clubs having those. And so I just feel poorly for those 65% of clubs that aren't receiving all the great collateral materials and other things that we can send them in terms of resources to do a better job. You know, right now we've got sort of a situation where we've really got an opportunity where people are at home more and they aren't going out and doing things. And so this is a great time to take advantage of all those opportunities to go after membership, either doing some membership things right now or looking at it going forward. So that was on the membership committee, maybe just getting 2 folks, one to concentrate on recruitment and the other more on engagement. This is the one thing I wanted to communicate to all of you. If you haven't with your clubs gone out to the KI website and pulled down this roster analysis, it's just a 1-pager front and back, just a lot of occupations, and it's a great way to go through your current membership crew and take a look at what positions you have and what sort of occupations, professions you might be looking for. And there over on the right-hand side is an example of a club that put a most wanted poster out on Facebook and Instagram looking for certain types of people to join their clubs. So that's a great opportunity to at least dip your toe into looking for members. And then I wanted to mention, because we just came off of the holiday season, I always think that January is a wonderful time to put together those naughty and nice lists. And so obviously the nice folks are all of you who paid dues and are engaged with club service projects and attending meetings, whether they're virtual, hybrid, or in person. And but the naughty list, and I wouldn't call them naughty to their face, but I've got on there Dan Deadbeat, Nasty Ned, and Negative Nelly. Those are the folks that we need to go after, because if you've got members who have not darkened your doors for a while, and I don't mean just in person, but if there are people that haven't shown up for service projects, aren't on a committee, aren't attending your Zoom calls, those types of things, this is the time of year to go after them while they're sort of in hibernation mode. You can get a hold of them easier. I would really encourage you to go to the people who sponsored them into Kiwanis, who brought them in, because they'll probably respond to them better. But find a upcoming meeting where maybe the speaker or topic is something that they are interested in professionally or in terms of a hobby, or bring them in for a committee, quick assignment, or also on a service project. And then I just want to say, you know, we're into 2021, thank goodness. It's not been the greatest start of a year, but I'll take it. And as I said, I think that we're poised to really have some great successes. I shared earlier with Kathy's group, one of my mom's favorite sayings that I love is, you know, when you get wrapped up in yourself, you become a very small package. And I think because this has been a global pandemic, it's hit every country, it's hit almost every citizen of every country. We all have realized that we're sort of codependent, and we all are in this thing together, this thing called life, and let's make the most of it. And so I encourage you to go out on the Nextdoor app in your neighborhood or whatever and try to entice folks who are looking for more meaningful contributions to their community. They're looking to maybe move from success with their family life, success in their profession, to really moving more to significance and how they can leave a legacy. And Kiwanis is the best vehicle out there, because it's all about preparing future generations of leaders, and it's a ready-made organization where people can get engaged right away. They don't have to reinvent the wheel and start from scratch. And we've got a wonderful mission. And then lastly, I'll just throw up there, this is a great saying that I've come across, and it's really the importance of belonging. You know, our membership brochure and application says join Kiwanis. Well, I happen to think joining is just something that people do. Belonging is how people feel. And so I think that what we've got, whether it's your Kiwanis moment or what I affectionately call pure Kiwanis goodness, those are the things that make you a belonger. And those are the things that we want to offer, that spark of a kid's eye, that crack of a smile for the kid you didn't think would really realize the impact that you're making on their lives, those types of things. So go after those belongers. And lastly, I think that your clubs and you as leaders, we need to be that bright beacon of hope in our communities. We can't have our head down in the sand. That's not what Kiwanians are all about. We're there because we know that our kids and our communities need us now more than ever. And we want to lay the foundation for hope and encouragement and support and love. And that begins at the club level. So if you've got club members that you haven't seen for a while, reach out to them, call them, send them a note. I just finished a year as Lieutenant Governor, and one of the 8 clubs in my division is the Robin Run Golden K Club. And my poor last year's club president, Mildred, lost her husband to COVID over the summer. And so I've been staying in touch with her every 4 to 6 weeks and all. And I talked to her the other day because I was so hopeful in earlier this year. She'd said that they were finally getting let out of their rooms to go to the dining hall in small groups. And she said that only lasted for 3 weeks before they had 15 cases of COVID come and they're back sequestered in their own rooms. So what I did over the summer was I got our other 7 clubs to do a service project where we sent cards of encouragement to all the members of the Robin Run Golden K Club. And believe it or not, those folks have then sent thank you notes back to the people who sent them the cards. And we've got a little pen pal thing going in our division. And I think it's great. So go after those folks that you might be concerned about that you haven't heard from for a while. Just check in on them. And the same with our SLP kids. I was a key clubber in CKI, and it means the world for someone that I look up to and admire to care enough to maybe drop me a line or give me a call and see how I'm doing. So enough for me. I'll send it back to Lisa.
All right, thank you, Brad. Hey, would it be possible, we've got some folks on that are on by phone only this evening. Could you send me those slides, Brad?
Sure.
And that way, even if some of you wanted to jot some notes or something down and wasn't quite quick enough or something, I'll make sure those get distributed out to everybody. So that'd be great. Thank you.
Glad to.
Lisa,
Yes, Steve.
this is Steve Green from Atlantic. And about 3 years ago, we changed our membership chairman to the president-elect. Our president-elect is now the membership chairman. We've signed up over 15 members since we changed that to them, because one reason it was changed to them is because when they become president, they can finish what they started as president-elect. That has worked very well for us.
Okay.
Great suggestion.
Yeah. Thanks, Steve. That's a great idea.
Yeah. Did you say that only 35% of clubs have a membership committee?
Only about 42, I think 42% the last I checked, club secretaries report a membership chair. Now, what that means is that many clubs, as Steve just alluded to, the president-elect, or quite often it's the president. I'll have people say, well, I'm the president, and so I'm in charge of membership. I'm like, well, that's not a good setup, because you've got plenty to do as club president. So I'm glad to see that the president-elect is getting involved with that. So, but you know, that makes a difference. If only 42% are sharing one, that's only 42% of our clubs that are getting all of the resource materials that we can provide for them. And so, you know, I always say, and I know because of the pandemic, a lot of the clubs are, the secretaries are tardy, or they haven't been meeting, so they don't see that they need to turn in their monthly reports. And so call me, write me, text me, send me it by pigeon mail. I don't care. Give me the name of a membership chair and I'll get it into the system, and we'll get them some information that will help them to really beef up their roles.
Brad, the secretary can take care of that too.
Yeah.
Of the club by reporting it on their right on the web page.
Yeah. It's
Well,
just
I
a lot.
definitely see membership is going to be a discussion for us, and I do want to get into that a little bit more. But before we really start getting into some of that, I do want to bring someone else on to present some information on behalf of the district. Governor-elect Don Fritz is with us this evening. Don, I think you are. I can't find you on my screen right now, but I saw you at one point in time.
I'm here.
Don, would you like to share, please?
I'm here. Hi. Thank you. And especially I thank our representatives from Kiwanis International, Kathy and Brad. It's always a pleasure to see both of you. I have just two things to offer, and then I think I'm the last of the talking heads here. Two things. One is an opportunity, and one is a request. First, the opportunity. Kathy alluded to the Kiwanis International Leadership Development Program titled Amplify, and I'm so excited that Kiwanis International is offering that for emerging leaders as well as existing leaders. At the district, at the Nebraska-Iowa District, we are pleased to offer 6 scholarships to attend the Amplify program. You will be receiving those flyers. They are due February 15th. Lisa and I decided to wait till after February 1st, so you didn't get inundated with too many things. We will be sending that flyer out, and we will entertain applications and very happily offer 6 $200 scholarships to attend the Amplify program. It starts, I believe, around April 15th and will end at the International Convention, both in person and virtual. And I think there are 8 modules to that. So I hope that you watch for that. I also encourage clubs I know that there are some clubs already who are talking about sponsoring members. Also, some clubs that are talking about subsidizing that registration fee, which can be taken out of your service accounts. And so I encourage you to take advantage of the Amplify from Kiwanis International. Secondly, my request, as I very rapidly approach my year as governor, I am in the process right now of recruiting lieutenant governors. And thank you, Kathy. I would agree. Being a lieutenant governor was very, very rewarding and quite fun for me. I actually had 12 clubs throughout south central Nebraska, and it was fun to actually, those were the days we actually attended meetings in person, and it was quite exciting. So as presidents of your clubs, I would ask that you consider, or that you look for people to recruit. They do need to have been a president of a club to be a lieutenant governor, but I would ask that you begin looking around, considering either yourself or someone else who might want to become more actively involved in Kiwanis and join the Nebraska-Iowa District family of support to clubs, and let me know. My name is in the leadership directory as well as on the website. And so I'm looking for lieutenant governors for the 21-22 fiscal year, which sounds like a long ways away, but our training's going to be in June. Not very far, folks. Thanks. Appreciate it.
All right. Thank you, Don. All right. Before we throw open a discussion for question and answer and membership, I would like to do a couple more introductions. We've got a pretty big group here tonight to go through introductions of everybody, but I tell you what I'm going to do. I will send out a contact list after this meeting of, hopefully I'll catch everybody's name and contact information who's on the meeting tonight. And that way, if there's an idea or a question or something you want to follow up with somebody, you've got that information. That'll be coming out with the visuals, the handout that Brad had. But I do want to introduce a couple other people from our district leadership team. Joining us this evening is our district vice governor, Linda Henningsen. Thank you for coming on tonight. He's waving there. We have several of our trustees with us this evening. Jim Dane is on. We have Gary Lindgren on. And Gary Muckle was signed up. I think maybe Gary's got his thumb up there. Thank you, Gary, for that. I don't think Gary Muckle was able to attend. He had something come up at the last minute. We also have some lieutenant governors with us this evening. Randy Griffith, Shirley Dougherty. Oh, yeah. Thank you, Randy. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Pam Henderson, Steve Green, and Larry Buss, and Janet Hermatko. So thank you, Lieutenant Governors, for coming on. And we also have the president of the Nebraska-Iowa District Foundation, Jody Melcher. And maybe, Jody, I'm going to start the question and answer session off with you, because this has been a question that's popped up in chat. And if some of you don't have your chat open, or for some of you on the phone, the question has come up: what is the status of Camp OK for this year? Jody, can you share?
Yes, our Board of Trustees for the foundation is meeting on Saturday morning, when we will make that decision. We had some discussion at our last meeting about things that we needed to talk to the camp about, hopefully getting some concessions from them about deadline for letting them know that the camp was going to be held, maybe cutting back on the minimum number of students that it would take to hold the camp, those kinds of things. So we have that information now, and we're meeting Saturday morning, and we'll make the decision. And Lisa, how about after we're finished with that meeting, how about if I send that information to you? I can't remember what is, next week is the deadline for something to be in the district Kiwanian.
Yes, the district newsletter, the Kiwanian, comes out next week. So if you meet Saturday morning, we can certainly put something in the newsletter, but we can also send something out special if you want to. But yes, let's talk about that after the fact, Jody. That'd be great.
Okay, yep, I'll let you know after our meeting Saturday morning.
Okay. All right. I guess I would throw it open now. If anybody has a specific question of any of the speakers, we could certainly do that. If you want to chime in with your microphone on, if you would put it on chat, we can do it either way. Does anybody have a question?
Can you tell me if the camp you mentioned is the YMCA camp?
That the Camp OK is the one at the YMCA camp, correct?
Thank you.
Okay. I did have a couple of questions that were submitted in advance or that came in. And so maybe to get things rolling, I will start that off. And Brad, you touched on this a little bit. So if you want to jump in, or anybody that's had any success, the question was, since we are not meeting face-to-face in person right now, there's been some clubs that have had success recruiting. How is that possible? What are those successful techniques to recruit right now?
I'd be remiss if I didn't at least summon up the one of my favorite Kiwanian sayings from Bob Mitchell from your district, and his was a club meeting or service project without a guest is a failure. Or I guess we prettied it up and said your club meeting's best when you bring a guest. Well, I like the hard hitting, it's a failure. And so it begins by every meeting when you're on your Zoom call, or if you're doing it in a hybrid format, just ask two simple questions. Who brought a guest today? Who's bringing one next week or whenever the next meeting is? And you know, the whole thing is we went through 5 years of the formula membership push, and we had awards for recognition for opening a new club or bringing on new members. We still have the Ruby K for that. But there wasn't one friggin' award for bringing guests to a meeting, and that's where it all begins. If we don't invite more of our friends, our like-minded friends, or even anybody out in the community to come and experience Kiwanis, to kick the tires, so to speak, and see whether Kiwanis might resonate in their heart like it does with all of us, we will never have more members. So it really begins with thinking through who would you like to invite in. And as I mentioned, right now, we're in a situation where we've got a lot more time on our hands, and we really have that luxury of being able to include people, even some, you know, I've been on calls where we've had someone from the Robert K. Greenleaf servant leadership area. We've had US senators and representatives and state house people. I mean, a lot of people that weren't available before, all of a sudden when they can Zoom on for a few minutes and then Zoom off, they're available. And same as with people that you think might make good prospective members. So I would encourage that really is the main reason. And then you treat them just like you do with a regular guest. It's a matter of, you know, giving them some time to perhaps speak. One club that I've come across recently, or a couple clubs are doing, where they scour the either business journal, if you have it in your community, or the Sunday paper or the daily paper, and look in the fine print in the back with all the legal things of new businesses that incorporate. And then once a month, they invite people who have just opened new businesses to come to their meeting and do a 2 or 3 minute pitch. And that also then allows them to expose to those people what a Kiwanis Club is all about and all the good things that you're doing in your community.
All right,
Lisa,
Brad, don't
Lisa,
shut
I'd
your
like to-
microphone off quite yet. I've got a question. Can Brad provide more insight into greater community awareness goal?
Sure. It's, you know, it's a matter of getting things out. One of the things in my full-fledged presentation is something that I noticed the first week that the pandemic hit us. I am a member of our Nextdoor app. I think it's in most communities. It's a neighborhood one. It's the one where usually you find out that there's a lost kitten, or there's a kid who'd like to be a babysitter, or you might need somebody to mow your grass. And I saw 3 people, shame on me, I had not met these new neighbors, but they all said that they were living on their own, and they were of the mind and ability to be able to go to the grocery store and drugstore for anyone that might need that. And so I just circled back with all 3 of them and said, hey, you know, that's great that you're willing to do that, but did you know we have a Kiwanis Club that's just a mile down the way, and in 2 weeks they're doing a coat drive over by City Hall. And I know that a 78-year-old grandmother who was watching her 14-year-old grandson for the summer took part of that, and they were working on her to become a member and everything. So it's just thinking, you know, through who you might know and who might, it's connecting the dots is what I really call it, you know, who might really benefit from knowing about this information. That's the beginning of community awareness. And then the other is just letting, you know, people know what all you've been doing to support the community and get that out through social media. So a lot of Facebook, some clubs use Instagram. Right now there's, with joblessness and with the, a lot of people on furloughs and things like that, there has been a 45% spike in LinkedIn activity since the pandemic hit and all. So it's a great opportunity to, if you find that somebody's going to bring a guest to your online meeting or to a service project, look them up on LinkedIn. It's easy to usually find them unless they have a really common name, and just say, hey, I'm looking forward to meeting you at the Kiwanis gathering, and then ask your president and a board member to follow up afterwards and say, hey, it was great to meet you. And then they get to start seeing what extensive lists of, you know, how well connected we are with a lot of the community, the civic and business leaders in your community.
Okay.
I think
Thank
Don
you,
had
Greg.
something there on membership.
I'm the president of the Golden Cape in Des Moines, and we've been meeting virtually since, I would say late March. And we have 85 members, and we get about 40 people on the Zoom. For some people, it's just a new thing, you know, technology has kind of overtaken them. One man said, I got to the point where I could see myself, but I couldn't take that next step. But in the meantime, we have a very active membership committee chair named Dave Hansen, and Dave is divided up among his 5 members, all the members of our club, and they're calling them once a month. And some people really appreciate the calls. I guess everybody appreciates the calls. Some people want to talk, and people say, I'm fine, but the outreach is working.
I have a question about contacting corporate, especially bigger businesses, hospitals, law firms, insurance agencies. What's a good way to, in so many words, get in the door and begin our presentation about the Kiwanis and how it can value not only their company, but the community we serve?
Kathy Szymanski is a business owner. She can answer that one.
I apologize. As Brad knows, I've had a little bit of an emergency at my household this morning, so I was trying to take care of something. What was that again?
How can we contact corporate businesses, hospitals, law firms, insurance agencies to make our pitch for Kiwanis and how it will value and bring value to their company as well as for the local community?
And realtors and all of that great stuff. Yeah, I think that's a great question that thankfully I feel I'm able to answer it, Brad Boyd. But anyhow, you know, when you're talking about your accountants, your insurance agents, realtors, and all of that stuff, I haven't, hospitals I've had a hard time with, but the others, you know, quite frankly, it really is about having them compliment them, have them come in and talk to your clubs. Again, as Brad said, even, you know, I'm watching the chat here. A lot of you are meeting back in person again, which is awesome. But whether you're meeting in person or virtually, you can have these people Zoom into your meetings in person or have them as the speaker, and make sure that whoever is greeting at the door, whoever is sitting, and if you're a meal club eating, make sure that you surround this person with somebody who is trained to talk about Kiwanis, but not sell Kiwanis. And I think all of us on here know what I mean by that. And then afterwards, you know, we asked that question, you know, so what did you think of our club? You know, blah, 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 blah. Because even the moment he says, look, I run an insurance agent, I don't have time. Oh, but what about your other people there? And then we go into why the ABC lawyer company should join or whatever, because, you know, maybe as a corporation, they could join. But I feel that's the point we're missing, because sometimes we always want that attorney to join. We forget about somebody from the staff joining that brings the energy. So the first thing is invite them to speak, or a guest, or a project. You know, those are what the invite is the first thing you have to do. The second thing is surround him with the positive people. And we all know the negative Nelly people who we probably don't want this person around, you know, and make sure that him or her are, you know, happy. Make sure you have a product that you could sell, and bam. Does that help any, or is that like?
Yes, it does. It does help.
Thing?
No, yes, there's help.
Just to piggyback on that, in my presentation, I share a couple of communities have taken some monies from, you know, they haven't been able to send their club leaders in person to a district convention or mid-year or to a international convention. So they took some of that money and put it into, one of them took and did those foam core, the Gator foam, real lightweight signs for like garage sales and all. And they put Kiwanis supports local on there, and they put them in front of all the businesses in town and all of the restaurants and everything. And I guarantee you, with the, you know, with the economic hardship that all those local businesses and restaurants are going through, they're probably not going to get members right now. But I guarantee you that in a few years, once they bounce back and you're asking them for some silent auction donations or even a membership, they're going to think very kindly of the Kiwanians who were really pushing shopping and dining local. We also had in Texas an opportunity where we had about a 3-year-old club that I had helped open, and they partnered with the Rowlett Chamber of Commerce, and they put on a virtual coffee. And so it's real easy if you've got a good relationship with your local Chamber of Commerce, or if you've got a member from the chamber who's in your club, ask them if you might be able to do it. This woman so happened to run a counseling service, and so she got one of her counselors to do a talk about the anxiety and stress that comes from COVID. And then while her person on her staff was presenting, then she was working the chat box to get people to, or promising people to send them the recording and the notes from the meeting. And then what she really wanted were the emails and the names so that she could invite them to their next club meetings and service projects. So there's a lot of great opportunities to build some goodwill with your corporate. The other that I'll mention real quick, in Hayes, Kansas, they actually wanted to honor frontline health heroes at the hospital. They only have one hospital in town. And so they actually did what I call a win-win opportunity. They purchased, it cost $1,000, so you've got to find it in your budget, but they purchased a Hickson award from the Kiwanis Children's Fund. And then they presented that to all the frontline heroes and heroines in their hospital. And then they did like a press conference and actually had all those people from the hospital show up so that they could actually hang that Hickson in the hospital lobby. So we've got a lot of people that are being very creative, and I just encourage you to try as many different ways to make it happen, make it sort of a game, and putting together a jigsaw puzzle, and I think you'll have great success.
Lisa, can I add 3 more things?
Go ahead.
Sorry, I think he hit Brad's and my passion points here. So I have 3 more things here. One thing is a contest amongst your members that really ignites the fire and it gets people motivated, as long as you keep it in front of people weekly and make sure, you know, there's points, and at the end of this game, something worthwhile. So that's the first thing, to invite the correct and proper people you want. Second thing is that a club in New Jersey did was they invited an opera singer, or, you know, not an opera singer, but somebody from Broadway, thank you, from New York City to come to their meeting, because they knew that they need to practice somewhere. This person came on and they invited the whole community, and they also they paid like $100 is all. So she talked about, in between her singing and stuff, she talked about what this club did. They got members. So again, you know, I see somebody on here got members to speak from 500 miles away. Advertise on my third thing is social media. We may not think it's that great, but if you have somebody strong in your club or one of your service leadership members that can keep your social media up to date with not just your upcoming programs, but your service projects, and keep it updated. And Kiwanis International has some phenomenal stuff to keep updated too. Apologize, but those were the 3 things I wanted to bring up.
No, that's great. Chuck, Beck, do you want to share a little bit about some of the luck you've had with corporate membership?
So yeah, so last year we had the benefit of turning 100. Our club did, and I know that there's other clubs out there that are in that same boat, that will be turning 100 soon, or maybe it's 50, maybe it's 25. But we didn't want the year to go by, even with the pandemic, without making a big push. So it was actually in the year before, the fall before, there were a few of us that divided up a list of companies that we wanted to approach, and we developed some marketing material. So we had our normal flyer, but we also were seeking 100th anniversary sponsors for our 100th anniversary. And we did a little bit of a push. So we did a letter to the editor talking about what Kiwanis had really accomplished for the area in the previous 100 years, the types of things that we were doing currently. And so it was really just about going out and having a conversation with the businesses, asking what they knew about Kiwanis. You know, most folks know us for pancake feed, but they don't necessarily know the other things that Kiwanis does. And so that's kind of where we started the conversation, was, what do you know about Kiwanis? And when they would tell us, we'd kind of continue the conversation and let them know all of the good things that we did. And we asked for them to be involved, whether it was through a sponsorship, whether it was membership, or maybe both. And we did. We got about 4,000. Unfortunately, it was kind of cut short because of the pandemic, some of the visits, but we were able to get about $4,000 in corporate sponsorships for our 100th anniversary. And we also got a couple of memberships based off of those visits. So I wouldn't say that it quite accomplished exactly what we wanted to, but, you know, as before, if you don't ask, the answer is no. And so we just went out and had conversations with businesses. I think it sounds simplistic, but I think that that's really as basic as it was for us.
Okay, thank you for sharing. That's great. And I kind of predicted this membership thing was going to be a big topic. I think we've really covered some good things. Are there any other issues that any of you are facing as president that we can bounce off of one another, or that you'd like to either ask of your district leadership team or Kiwanis International reps?
Hey, Lisa, while they're thinking of their questions,
Yeah.
Jack had a question about, he said that they had not had good success with the Omaha Club doing hybrid meetings. And I just wanted to offer, in case they'd be willing to try it again, I had a club in one of the clubs in the division that I was lieutenant governor for, only missed 1 week of having meetings, and they were one of the earliest ones to go back to a hybrid formation. And they actually put together a whole sort of document that helped guide their members and how to do Zoom. And then also part of the magic is to make sure that there's some equipment. So you may need to invest, $50 to $100 to get a good directional mic, one of those conference mics that has like 3 spokes or whatever that you put into the meeting room so that you can pick up the side conversations in the room. There's nothing more frustrating than being on Zoom and not being able to hear the chatter in the meeting room and hearing the speaker crystal clear and everything. And so some are, doing the ring lights or some equipment. So we've got some lists. The other thing that we would be glad to do from KI is to put you in touch with clubs that have successfully moved to a hybrid and actually have you do an inter club to one of those meetings. And then they would stay behind afterwards and answer any questions or help guide people if they would like to become more familiar with how to do it. So I wouldn't just throw in the towel completely. I'd maybe look at other opportunities, because I think that, this pandemic's going to be around a little bit longer than we might think. And, there are certainly, even after the pandemic is over, there are going to be a number of people that are going to say, I just don't have the time to drive 15 to 30 minutes across town and back and do a meeting. They're still going to want to Zoom. And that's a great way right now. Only 10% of our SLP faculty advisors are members of a Kiwanis club. And it's usually because we meet in the morning or at lunchtime when they can't do it, but they might be able to Zoom in over their lunch break or whatever. And also young people, a lot of those don't join Kiwanis because they just can't afford the luxury of getting away and traveling to a meeting and back and forth. So I do think that we're going to find hybrid. Every district, all 7 that I work with, are all saying that they're going to do hybrid for mid-years and district convention. And so I think that, and even we at the international convention will have a hybrid component to it as well. So nothing's ever going to replace, the what I call affectionately drive-by shootings in the hallway or at the buffet line. I guess we can't do buffet lines anymore, but at lunch or whatever. But so I'm certainly a proponent of meeting in person, but there are some advantages to thinking about doing it in a hybrid format as well.
This is Jack. I'll weigh in on my concern here. First of all, it was the waiver form that came out by KI that scared a lot of our membership. Many were reluctant to sign that. The other thing you mentioned is the audio-visual component. We had a hard time finding a place to meet. And I haven't been in a restaurant myself since this whole thing started. And as president, I said, I'm not coming into a restaurant, period.
Yep.
And we had better participation with those members that were on Zoom as opposed to those that are in the restaurant. I think it was the distance, the separation, the visual effect was poor, lighting was poor in the room. The pickup, I suggested ordering a pretty pricey all-directional microphone to no success. So there's a number of factors that come into play here. But I'll tell you, our club probably has maybe 60%, 70% participation on Zoom. We have some members that were regular members coming. They have not been to a Zoom meeting yet, in spite of being called. So you're going to have highs and lows, and I think you're right. Frequent calls once a month or once every 2 weeks to those absent members is pretty critical.
And if you're doing hybrid, I will agree. I've been speaker for a couple that are in restaurants, and you hear all the silverware and the glasses clinking and all that. It's not the greatest atmosphere. So actually the ones that I think are working best is where they've moved to like either a government township center or something like that, or into a church or somewhere where it's not a restaurant. So I would agree with that.
What is a Zoom? I mean, a hybrid meeting. That's not Zoom?
It's where you've returned to in person. So those members who feel comfortable still being physically distanced or socially distanced, as they call it, but physically distanced in a meeting room together, come back together as a regular club meeting, but then you have the directional mic such that you can pick up the audio and the video from your iPhone or whatever, or through Zoom, you dial in. And so it's a combination Zoom call and an in-person meeting.
Okay, okay.
And there is just a question that popped up on chat, and maybe we can take just a minute from either the international district leaders here. What is the international or district's position on statements for general guidance for clubs? Kathy, do you want to just address that, make a statement as far as what the position is? And I will say, if there's any questions about what the guidelines are, those are available on the district website, the waiver forms and all that. So Kathy, do you want to handle that question, please?
Sure, but I think you just did, Lisa. Basically, I was going to refer you to the Kiwanis International website, but it appears everything's on your website. We are asking for service projects or meeting in person that you do, quite frankly, you have somebody taking somebody's temperature. You make sure there's a station where somebody can, sanitize their hands and so forth. Very much so, we are asking for waivers to be filled out. Just for your safety, our safety, and all the liabilities concerned. And as Lisa just alluded to, you have the waivers and everything on your website. I highly recommend checking it out.
Yeah,
We are being very, very, very careful and have all members' safety in mind.
Kathy, you had modified, you had sent us an example of a little bit of a modified waiver. Can you share that with us?
I believe I emailed it out to someone, didn't I, Lisa?
You had emailed it to me, Kathy, and on the district website under the COVID tab, there is the original 2-page waiver that had been sent out, I believe last fall. That's available. There is a modified one that Kurt and Kathy were just talking about, and that one is available on the district website as well. That one that came out, there's a place for you to put your club name up on top and fill in the club name and have your members sign that. Okay, we are coming right up. I didn't want to cut this discussion too short because I thought we had some really good questions and answers. I do want to give you all a chance to share back and forth a little bit, maybe in some smaller groups. I totally understand if a few of you have some pressing things you need to go at, but what I'd like to do, maybe for at least 5 minutes, is I'm going to assign you to some breakout rooms, to some group rooms, where you can have some chats and just share back and forth a little bit, get to know some of the leaders from across the district. So what's going to happen is I'm going to assign breakout rooms, and you are going to get an invite to go into the room. So when that invite pops up, I ask you to go ahead and hit join. And like I said, we'll spend probably 5, 6, 7 minutes in there, and then we'll come back out for a quick wrap up. So here we go. If you get an invite, please accept.
Where is the Zoom, where is the recording going to be? On your website?
I'll make it available on the website, correct.
Okay.